Alright, time to go over all of the exotic armor available for hunters. Each exotic will be rated on a scale of 1 to 10 in both PvE and PvP. A rating of 1 means it satisfies the very basic requirements of an exotic, in that it's an exotic. Original Dreg's Promise or Astrocyte Verse is a very good example of this. However, aside from that, it will offer nothing over a legendary piece of armor. A rating of 5 is considered a normal exotic that has some benefits, but not a lot of upsides. Invective and Lord of Wolves are very good examples of this. Maybe a small bit of utility as well. A rating of 9 is going to be a very powerful exotic that generally every player will benefit from. Hawkmoon in its original state is one of these. A rating of 10 is effectively considered overpowered in that not only does it benefit any player, but it blatantly makes some abilities better without any other effort required from the player. A good example of this would be Thorn or Vex Mythoclast in their most powerful states. With that explanation out of the way, let's get started with helms. Knucklehead Radar, 2 out of 10 for PvE, and a 5 out of 10 for PvP. This exotic was largely made redundant by the Memory of Gellion artifact. Having your radar active when using a primary weapon is a nice utility item, but it isn't the best thing out there, especially since you can pair the artifact with anything else on this list to get the same effect. The ability does pair nicely with No Land Beyond to give you Third Eye while sniping in PvP. Awareness is a very powerful tool there, thus the 5 out of 10 for PvP. ACHLYOPHAGE Symbiote, 5 out of 10 for PvE, 7 out of 10 for PvP. Gaining an additional shot for Golden Gun is always going to be beneficial. In PvE, it's wonderful for strikes where you often have to kill multiple enemies. In PvP, it's strongest in the 6v6 playlists. You won't make use of every extra shot every time, but it is very nice to have for some situations. Mask of the Third Man, 4 out of 10 for PvE, 4 out of 10 for PvP. Having your Arc Blade use less energy is useful, but in PvE Arc Blade isn't that good anyway. In PvP, other exotics for Blade Dancer give you better perks for your super as well as your entire class. Not to mention that, again, Blade Dancer isn't that good in PvP. The ATS-8 Arachnid, 2 out of 10 for PvE, 2 out of 10 for PvP. The only benefit you will see from this helm in PvE is keeping your damage further out due to the increased zoom. In PvP, the only benefit you will see is a slight increase to your Golden Gun time, not to mention that the increased zoom when aiming down sights for Golden Gun can be rather jarring. Celestial Nighthawk, 9 out of 10 for PvE, 1 out of 10 for PvP. This is absolutely one of the best PvE exotics for gunslingers, modifying your Golden Gun to only have one shot, but that shot does 6 times damage means you can do some serious damage to bosses, or you will absolutely kill that one mob that you really need to kill, no questions asked. In PvP, this has 0 benefits though, and I feel like it's actually detrimental to use this since you don't get multiple Golden Gun shots. And because people will ask, no, this helm does not give Icarus to your primaries as a hidden perk. None of my testing has ever shown that it does. Skyburner's Annex, 8 out of 10 for PvE, 1 out of 10 for PvP. Again, this is another stellar choice for any PvE hunter. Giving your team extra orbs can be a huge boon in any encounter, not to mention that holding onto your super will help you use your special weapon more. This helm has no benefits in PvP, thus the lowest rating. Graviton Forfeit, 3 out of 10 for PvE, 8 out of 10 for PvP. This helm gives any Night Stalker hunter the Shade Step ability, allowing you to spec into Keen Scout or Predator. For those that can make use of Shade Step, it's a very powerful tool in PvP. Shade Step is okay in PvE, but I would much rather use different exotics that grant me some sort of other utility. Moving on over to gloves, let's start with Young Ahamkara's Spine. 6 out of 10 for PvE, and 7 out of 10 for PvP. Gaining an additional trip mine is a solid perk, especially when they stick around for 30 seconds. Trip mines are still a wonderful tool for zoning in both PvE and PvP, so use them if you really like them. Don't Touch Me's, 3 out of 10 for PvE, 1 out of 10 for PvP. Look, I get it. Taking damage from a melee makes you invisible. Then what though? Invisibility is a cool ability in PvE since it breaks combat, but one of the more useless ones in PvP when tied to this exotic. It's just entirely too situational. Plus if someone melees you in PvP, they know where you are. You're right there, they just meleeed you. They do make soloing the first phase of Crota's End super easy though, so the 3 out of 10 in PvE is noted. Kepri's Sting, 3 out of 10 for PvE, 5 out of 10 for PvP. These grant you invisibility while crouching regardless of spec. They also grant you backstab while invisible. Melee attacks will also cause lingering damage. Despite how neat of a toolbox that these give, they just aren't terribly effective compared to the rest of the field, either in PvP or PvE. There are some interesting fringe builds in PvP for using these, but their utility is just very narrow in use. These could really be combined with Don't Touch Me's to make a more fully formed exotic. Sealed Ahamkara's Grasps, 6 out of 10 for PvE, 5 out of 10 for PvP. While these gloves were made slightly redundant by the Fellwinter's artifact, they still do reload your primary weapon on melee damage sometimes. That's still incredibly powerful for any Nightstalker in PvE. In PvP, some Nightstalkers still prefer these over Graviton, and for good reason. Shinobu's Vow, 6 out of 10 for PvE, 10 out of 10 for PvP. These gloves simply up the damage of your grenades in PvE, so if you're using Blade, you can see a small damage bump. However, the increase in tracking, extra grenade, and damage bump in PvP bring these into a whole nother world. They make skip grenades extremely lethal and very difficult to counter. Crest of the Alpha Lupi, 5 out of 10 for PvE, and 5 out of 10 for PvP. This is one of those baseline exotics that has just always been good, and it can give you benefits anywhere. Making more orbs for your super is always good, as is being able to res faster. Lucky Raspberry, 4 out of 10 for PvE, 6 out of 10 for PvP. Arcbolt chaining further ups the PvE utility, but the real benefit of this chest piece is found when you respawn. This will mostly be useful in PvP since you will die more often there, and this perk does apply to any grenade. The ATS-8 Tarantella, 6 out of 10 in PvE, 6 out of 10 in PvP. The main reason you use this chest piece is so your arc blade can recharge faster, giving you more chances to use it. I place this chest piece over the Mask of the Third Man if you're wanting to directly modify how you play with your arc blade super in both PvE and PvP. Radiant Dance Machines, 2 out of 10 in PvE, 4 out of 10 in PvP. These give you a 5% movement speed increase when aiming down sights. In my opinion, that's useless for 99% of players. Some do swear by it though for mobile PvP play. Bones of Ao, 6 out of 10 for PvE, 9 out of 10 for PvP. If you're looking to properly increase your movement, these are the exotics for your hunter. Use these with increased control jump and you have now unlocked the fastest movement speed option for hunters. I enjoy using them in PvE since I move around so much quicker in every encounter. In PvP, they're wonderful for countering shotgun rushers as well as running from some of the other active supers out there. Frosties, 9 out of 10 in PvE, 9 out of 10 in PvP. These will recharge your grenade and melee cooldown while running. That's an incredibly powerful ability in PvE and PvP since you're pretty much always running from point A to point B. If you want to wombo combo things more as a Nightstalker or just always have your blink strike up in PvP, use these. You will not regret it. And that about does it for the Hunter exotic tier listings. I hope you found this video helpful, and please don't get too angry if I didn't rate your favorite exotic as high as you would have liked. This video is effectively my personal opinion, and you are free to disagree. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.